What's going on, you guys? Petplatypus here, and I'm doing another Young Justice double review. This was a pretty fun episode of Young Justice. I guess I'll just start with the subplot about Megan, and I guess he's going by Connor Kent now, Superboy, going to high school. I think it's very interesting that they're choosing to do that, because you can go very wrong very fast by doing that, so hopefully it's done well. So far it's okay. I like that they had kind of a fish out of water thing with Superboy for a second, where he saw the superhero shirts, you know, because people are just fans of these superheroes, and he's like, wait, what the fuck's going on? And he figures it out for himself, which I think is really, really cool. It shows that he's not totally incompetent. And Megan's there to kind of help him and talk in his mind and, you know, coach him, which is very useful. She doesn't have to pull him aside or anything. She can just slip in and say, hey, stop, you're being dumb. That's very, very cool. And she tries out for cheerleaders, she gets it, whatever, we'll see where things go, more romance between the two characters. They're pushing it a lot heavier than I thought they would before, so that was pretty cool. Also, very funny, when Superboy was, like, pointing out the disputes between the North and South, I forget what their countries' names are, it's basically like North and South Korea, but when he was delivering the history between the two, not gonna lie, felt very Uncharted, felt very Nathan Drake-ish, because he's voiced by Nolan North, of course, because Nolan North is in fucking everything. And it felt very, like, I could really hear the Nathan Drake in the voice when he started to, you know, deliver that history and shit. So that was kind of funny for me. And the last thing I want to mention about the high school section is the couple that he almost got in a fight with. There was the cheerleader girl who has, like, the, she's black, and she's got, I don't know, like, these little afro pigtails, I don't know what the fuck they're called. And the big dude, particularly big, and her design was very similar to a design from Teen Titans, a character who, I don't know her name, but she's basically like a DC version of Wasp, dresses like a bee, has these little, like, I don't know how to describe them, but they, like, shoot electricity, I think, and she can shrink down. And then you got the big dude, big black dude, very reminiscent of Cyborg. Those two characters had a history in the Teen Titans show. Was this kind of like a, we're going to make these characters look like these other characters from Teen Titans as like a nod? Or are they setting something up? I don't know. They said the guy's name. I don't know what Cyborg's alter ego is. Maybe that is his name. I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up. But interesting, nonetheless, fascinating. Whether they're going to go anywhere with that or if that was just like a, we're going to make these characters kind of look like this just as a nod type thing. Either one, fine with me. So that's the high school section. The main plot, first off, Red Arrow, when he's not waving his fucking I'm a big boy cock around, and he's not waving his fucking I'm a solo guy flag, and talking about how they're the Junior Justice League and all that condescending bullshit, he's actually a badass, and he's actually a pretty damn cool character. And, yeah, but Lex Luthor does play him like a fucking fiddle, and we do get to see Lex Luthor, and we also get to see Ra's al Ghul. Lex Luthor far more impressive, his political, just, how do I say it, his political manner of speaking, the way he can talk to people, the way he even talks to Red Arrow, very nice, very smooth, very Lex Luthor. Definitely nice to see him here. It's a very good portrayal of the character. Probably a much better portrayal than what I'm about to see tomorrow, or I guess you're going to see this on Friday, so today, later today, I'm going to see Batman vs. Superman with Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, and I am not excited for that. The movie, I hope I like the movie a lot more than people on Rotten Tomatoes are liking it, with like it's 35% or some shit, somewhere around there. I hope I enjoy it. I hope that's not going to be my reaction to the film, but yeah, definitely don't think I'm going to like Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, but that's a total digression. So back to this show. Lex Luthor's awesome. He says he has beef with Ra's al Ghul. Turns out to be bullshit by the end. Are they both members of the Illuminati, so to speak? Don't know. They might be, possibly. I think the League of Shadows was working with them in a previous episode. And this Cheshire chick does definitely know Artemis. So Artemis is probably the spy, and now Aqualad's aware of the spy. So there's a lot of overall story progression. There's some really good action here between Red Arrow and Cheshire and Sportsmaster and Aqualad. Cheshire's still a really cool character. Sportsmaster, meh. If you feel like I'm rushing through this, I do apologize, but I do need to do another episode on top of this one, so I kind of want to get through this faster than usual. Great action, great animation, really good story progression, good setup for future events. Overall, a really, really solid episode of Young Justice. So I will give it overall a 8 out of 10, a very good episode, and I'll call that a review. So now we'll move on to episode 11. Okay, so episode 11, Terrors. Another really good episode of Young Justice. Seems to be the average of the series so far. Really no episodes I absolutely hated or didn't really like at all. Except for that one with Wally, but even then it still had really good elements. But anyways, this episode, we get Megan and Connor, Superboy and Miss Martian, and they break into, well, not really break into, they disguise themselves and infiltrate one of these top-tier prisons that holds supervillains. Lots of supervillain cameos. We get some dudes they've already defeated. We get the Riddler. We get mention of the Joker. We get all the ice villains, which they play a big part. And it's interesting, too, because in the very first episode, they have the 4 ice villains attacking at once, and it's kind of weird. And then you get fucking Batman in that episode saying we gotta figure out why 4 ice villains attacked simultaneously. Thought maybe it was just a joke, or maybe it would go somewhere, but probably not. It was the first episode, so I didn't really know what to expect. But they actually followed up on it, which is really cool. And yeah, their big plan was to break out everybody in the prison. You got the warden there, she's pretty cool. And then you've got, standing behind her, the psychiatrist, Dr. Hugo Strange, and if you saw him, the first thing you were thinking was, yeah, and you weren't alone. When as soon as I saw him, I was like, whoa, no, danger signs, whoa, Hugo Strange, no. But, of course, he's a good actor, and he had me fooled for a second. I was like, is this really Hugo? Like, this is Hugo Strange, but, like, is this, like, before he becomes a villain or something? He was actually pretty convincing, but in the end, he did turn out to be sinister, and now he's the warden, and of course he is working for the Illuminati. Please, no copyright bullshit. Anyways, but yeah, now he's the new warden, and the Light, or the Illuminati, are now they'll be very pleased, as he says. And yeah, it was just a fun, action-packed episode. I like how they kind of dived into the psychology of Superboy a little bit. Well, trying to keep their disguise going, and I guess the big, character, because there's a lot of story progression in this one, with Hugo Strange becoming the new warden, the attempted breakout, and kind of just things that are going on with this, the Light, or whatever they're called. I'm assuming that's what they're called. It might still be a code, but I don't know. But yeah, how everything kind of just moved forward. But I guess for the characters, Megan and Connor, they kiss, and I'm surprised how fast they did this. I'm not super shocked that they have a romance, but I was thinking end of season 1, maybe. But I think it's cool to do it at this point, because it gives you a lot of time to expand upon their relationship and show something more happen than just, oh, they kissed at the end happily ever after. You don't know what happens later. It's nice to know that it happened and we can see more. Interesting that he did that. I mean, he cares about her. I found it funny that he pronounced Megan wrong. He was like Megan or whatever. That was kind of funny. Nice little character quirk. But also, they couldn't do it. I know as much as they can get away with on this show, I know there was no way they could have made an incest joke. But when they kissed, and the freezing dude was like, that's your sister, it would have been really funny if he, wasn't surprised because of their southern accents. But I know they can't do an incest joke. That just would have been really, really funny, but whatever. Yeah, I know they couldn't get away with it, but man, that was a perfect opportunity. And she turns back, and he realizes he was fooled. I like the ways Superboy was fooling them. He was very smart about it. I like his character. I like that he isn't just dumb. He's actually a lot more educated than he was before, and it's very cool. What else happened? Blood. There was a little bit of a lip bleed from the, I don't know the dude's name, but his dad had a lip bleed after getting into a little fight with Mr. Freeze. Interesting place to do that, I think. There was plenty of other moments where you could have had blood. It was just kind of interesting that it was there. But I guess you can't throw blood all over the place, so whatever. But it was kind of interesting to see that. And speaking of adult content, forgot to mention in the previous episode, you can judge me if you want for noticing this. I thought it was fairly noticeable for anybody watching, but maybe I'm just, I don't know. But Cheshire's dress was not always on her legs in the previous episode. There was 2 points, at least that I saw, where it went under her dress and you could see it, and I'm just surprised. It was nothing, like, ridiculous. It didn't flaunt it across the camera. It was nothing super detailed, but it's just interesting that they can just get away with that. Like, I'm just surprised Cartoon Network isn't like, oh, no, could you reanimate that so the dress kind of curves a certain way to cover up her underwear and all that? I'm just surprised that they just didn't care. It's very interesting how this show is basically just made. Like, if it just had blood, you could easily just run it on Adult Swim. You could fucking run it on... Not run it on, but it could just be one of their TV movies that they make. Like, it really isn't catering to kids at all, which I really appreciate, because you don't have to cater to kids. I'm not saying these shows have to be made for adults, but you don't have to cater to kids. You can entertain both. And shows like Adventure Time and Steven Universe and Gravity Falls, they all do that. But this show was just like, yeah, but we're not going to even make it that kid-friendly. We're just going to, kids can watch it, and we're still going to go as hardcore as we want within reason to make a really good show. And I think that's interesting. I've already touched on that, so I'm not going to dwell on it too much, but it's just interesting. And of course, you could easily remove the blood on his lip, easily make the dress go around her differently, and the show would lose none of its mature tone. None of that would be missing. It's just purely superficial visual bullshit. It just interests me that Cartoon Network didn't censor this stuff. But, yeah, with all that being said, I really liked this episode. Progression on the two characters' romance. I am curious why Superboy reciprocated, because she's had a crush on him for a while. He hasn't shown much interest in her. I mean, he has, but not, like, romantically too much, so maybe he just felt that's what he should do because he's not educated on this stuff. That would be an interesting angle to where she thinks it's, she thinks it's going down. She thinks they're a thing, and he's like, oh, well, I just thought you wanted me to do that. I mean, it'd be interesting. I don't know. I'm just spitballing ideas, but, yeah, a lot of ways you could take the characters. And this was definitely an interesting angle. And of course, with all that other stuff, with the light, aka the Illuminati and fucking Hugo Strange and all that, I'm definitely interested to see what's going to happen later on. But this was definitely a very fun episode. Definitely had a lot of fun making this video, as you could probably tell. And, yeah, so I'll probably give this one a solid 8 as well. It's a very good episode. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, animation, music, all that stuff, of course. I don't even have to mention anymore at this point how phenomenal all those aspects are. So, yeah, with all that being said, I'll give it a solid 8 out of 10, maybe an 8.5, somewhere between there. It's a good to great episode of Young Justice. So, thanks for watching this video. Tell me what you guys thought of this episode of Young Justice and the previous episode of Young Justice in the comment section below. You can follow me on Instagram or add me on PSN. I'm petplatypus on both. You can give this video a thumbs up and share it on social media. Both those would help me out a lot. That might even help Young Justice out a lot, because I would love to see it get renewed. And, yeah, I would also recommend that you subscribe if you haven't already, or if you like what you've seen here. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.